So, Honkai is ending. Stop, calm down, take a deep breath. Good. It's safe to assume that after hoyoverse announced the final arc of Honkai Impact 3rd Part 1, people went ballistic on social media, doom posting, crying like their dog just got hit by a car, and overall instilling chaos everywhere. If you're one of those people, this video is for you. I made a thread clarifying this on Twitter already that kinda blew up. It got more than 8,000 likes, that's crazy. I didn't even think that Honkai has 8,000 players. I'm joking, guys. Of course Honkai has more than 8,000 players. I think. I mean, for the sake of my channel, I sure hope so. Anyway, I decided to make this video because there are some things that I would like to add to what I wrote on Twitter, and I feel like the character limit over there is too, well, limiting to properly convey my points across. First of all, if you are worried that the game is ending and that hoyoverse will plug out the servers right after the final chapter of Part 1 releases, calm the down. That's not going to happen. The game is not ending, the servers are not shutting down, and Honkai will most likely remain operational for many more years. If you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe this Giga Chad instead.
和舰长们的支持，我们也希望崩坏3能够陪伴大家走过更多个6年。
During the livestream for the Chinese server 6th anniversary, Dawei said that he wants to see the players experience the game for 6 more years. Now, I want to address a minor misunderstanding from my Twitter thread. A lot of people took this statement as Dawei saying that they have 6 more years of planned content. That's not what he said. It was more of a celebratory message than a confirmation of any concrete content. It's like when you go to your grandma's 70th birthday and you're like, "Happy birthday, grandma, I wish you 70 more." Okay, maybe that was not the best analogy, but you get my point. Now, this doesn't mean that what he said isn't true. If anything, this statement is confirmation from the developers that they plan to support the game for many more years. If you go to the in-game story menu, you'll see that above the chapter slider, there is a small text saying the moon's origin and finality. That's the same text used in the latest trailer and the name of the current main story. The story of Kiana, Mei and Bronya fighting against the Honkai to protect everything beautiful in the world. The developers confirmed that after the final arc concludes, the story will enter a new phase, which most likely will be Part 2. They seem to imply that Part 2 will be a new story, most likely having new characters, new settings and new enemies. It could be a PHO or something entirely new, but I think that it will tie into Part 1 and we'll still see our beloved characters again, just that they won't necessarily be the main focus anymore. Who knows? Please note that I am speculating here, anything can happen. So, if you see the main story as a plot involving the playable characters, then this is not the end. But if you see the main story as the specific story of Kiana and co that hoyoverse told us from the beginning of the game, the main story will kinda reach its end for you. A good analogy that comes to my mind would be the latest Elysium Everlasting arc. Even though it tells the story of the Flame Chasers and just briefly involves characters from the main cast such as Mei, it was still considered part of the main story. So, think of Part 2 as something similar. In fact, I think that one of the reasons why they made the Elysian realm in the first place was to test the waters and see if people would accept and get attached to a new cast. And sure, there were many that didn't like the ER cast, but I would say that the majority of the player base loved and accepted them. In my Twitter thread, I blamed the confusion on the wording used by hoyoverse for the title of the new trailer. Looking back, I think that the wording they chose is okay. The issue is that the title leaves a tiny room for interpretation, and people always choose to look at the worst possible outcome. Our brain is programmed that way, that's the truth. That's how our species survived for thousands of years and become whatever the we are today. Though, if you calm down and read the title properly, it's obvious what they meant. Preview of Honkai Impact 3rd, Part 1, Finale. If this was meant to be Part 1 of the finale, they would have worded it Preview of Honkai Impact 3rd, Finale, Part 1. And the same wording is used for other languages as well. But, and hear me out, I also think that the final arc of Part 1 will be longer than normal. In recent years, hoyoverse seems to really like making 3-chapter long arcs. This has been consistent since the Herrscher of Sentience arc. Now, please note that this is my speculation. But I really believe that Kevin is not the final enemy and that we will face the Herrscher of the End at some point. I'll make another video with my thoughts on Chapter 31 EX where I'll go into more details on this. So yeah, I really believe that the finale will have 2 parts and that it will last for 6 chapters until 7.0. But the title of the trailer is not referring to that. It is referring to the fact that this will be the end of the Moon's Origins and Finality, which is part 1 of Honkai Impact 3rd. They did something similar in GGZ. A big misconception in the global Honkai Impact 3rd community is that the main story of GGZ is done. I get where this confusion is coming from though, since the game is not on global anymore and nobody can play it in English. People tend to associate the ending of GGZ with Herrscher of the End Kiana destroying the world. And that's somehow true, but that was the ending of the first part of GGZ's main story called Retrospect. After that, hoyoverse started a new part called Reborn and multiple story DLCs. Reborn is still ongoing and ties into some aspects of Retrospect. Just look at this trailer for one of the most recent patches.
无聊的命运和名为崩坏的枷锁，就由我来超越。
Similarly, I believe that the Moon's Origin and Finality is just the retrospect of Honkai Impact. I saw some people raising concerns that a new storyline might not maintain the same level of quality. And I think that's a valid concern, especially since, in my opinion, the story of APHO is pretty disappointing. So, if APHO becomes the new main story, people are afraid that the storytelling will drop in quality. If the same team behind part 1 remains, I don't think it will. I believe that APHO has some problems, as I said, but I think those are because of how it's structured in an open world format and how it's treated as a side content at the moment. If APHO truly becomes the new main content, I think that they will pay much closer attention to it and they could solve the story related problems that some people in the community have with the mode currently. So, all in all, I am cautiously optimistic for the future. Another concern I want to address are the other hoyoverse games. People seem to think that the main story will be continued in Honkai Star Rail, or that they are planning to abandon Honkai Impact 3rd after this and move the staff to other projects. I just want to reiterate that there is no proof of them previously abandoning a project like that. First, I believe that looking at Honkai Star Rail as a direct continuation of Honkai Impact 3rd is not the best approach. While it is true that they are directly linked by the shared multiverse, they are not dependent on each other. It's much better to think of the Honkai series as a brand. It's a title that is associated with multiple independent games. As someone who played through the second beta of Honkai Star Rail, I never got the feeling that Honkai Star Rail was there to replace Honkai Impact 3rd. On the contrary, the game felt more like a standalone title that has its own direction and identity and only faintly references the previous titles in the series. This fear is further perpetuated by the hectic patch cycles that we got recently with back-to-back-to-back S ranks, and while I agree that the pacing is awful, I think that it's simply because they are greedy. They figured out that they can make more money by selling more unique characters at a faster pace, rather than trying to build a better competitive environment. And this is not a Honkai only issue, but rather something that happens in most gacha games nowadays. And while in such a big company people moving around is not uncommon, they seem to operate by giving each their game a dedicated team. I don't think that the Honkai Impact 3rd team will move to Honkai Star Rail or ZZZ. In fact, they even state in this interview that Honkai Star Rail has a brand new team. So don't worry guys, they are not abandoning us, they are just milking us harder. In the end, nobody but hoyoverse knows what the future holds. As I said, I'm speculating a lot based on my educated guesses, company history, and the research I have done on my own. The only things that we know for sure and are 100% confirmed is that this is only part 1 of Honkai Impact 3rd. They plan to move the story into a new phase after part 1 ends, and they will continue to update and support this game for many more years to come. No matter what the future holds, be it APHO becoming the new main story, a new main story entirely, Kellen Bubble Universe, previous era, or what I would like to see the most, Elf Academy, let us all enjoy the ending of Honkai Impact 3rd Part 1. After all, a story without a conclusion has no meaning. All the things that we experienced and cried over in this journey would lose all their value if they were to endlessly drag it out. I just hope that our wallets can keep up with them releasing 5 S rank BOP physical battlesuits in the same patch, each with a dedicated SSSSS boss in 9.4.